Good morning, and I'm just a quick introduction to let you know who I am. I have got Mary's permission to talk in her group today. I'm Sheryl Andrews. My company's called Step by Step Listening. I'm a communication coach and trainer, and it is Sunday morning at 11 o'clock here in the UK, and I'm in my PJs, and I'm in my snuggle room as well, where I spend a lot of my time, or more time now than ever before, actually reflecting and gaining more clarity and more confidence on who I am and who I want to be. And today I want to share with you my story, my quest for peace, which took place, well, it's an ongoing journey, but last year I took up the offer and services of Mary Lennon, and I did a quest day with her on the 4th of November, and I'm hoping to be able to share some of it with you. But if I can't get very clear things on here, this is a little photo book that I've ordered to keep a memory of the day that Mary and I spent together. And what I want to do is basically share some of these. If it doesn't come out too well on the video showing you the book, I will put some pictures in the comments once I log off later. But in essence, what I want to do, why am I telling you the story? Well, there's three reasons. One is quite a selfish reason. It's for myself, because I know that in sharing the story with you and having the video here, I can listen back to it and I can really start to embed the learning that I've gained from this process. So that's the first thing. So there's a little bit of it, there's something in it for me. There's also, I'm hoping, if you are somebody who is looking for more peace in your life, that you will be able to gain some insights, some inspiration, some hope from the sharing of the experience that Mary and I have gone through the process. And also, if you have been on the edge of the seat thinking about coaching and thinking about investing in yourself, that I can help you understand what you're actually investing in. What is coaching? What's the process that you're investing in? And in particular, what are you investing in when you invest in Mary? And what Mary and I both hope is, because one thing I've definitely learned from Mary is this abundance, is that our journey on the planet is to share our stories, to inspire other people to create change that they want in their life. And we're not precious about whether or not you come to work with us. However, we would love it if you do, because we love sharing those journeys with people. So what I know that both Mary and I hope comes from this is that you'll get more insight into coaching and that you'll get the support that you want to create the change in your life. And that may or may not be us. But I hope that I definitely inspire you to think more about the events and offers that Mary's got, and that maybe if you've been on the edge of your seat for the last year or two, that 2018 is the year that you make the change. So that's why I'm on here. So we've got 3 people live. I know Mary's there, so hello Mary. Anyone else who's live, please put a hello there. And just tell me at the moment, first of all, answer the question, would you like more peace in your life? Is that something that you really want to achieve? Hello Sarah, thanks for joining us. If you want more peace, let's just say if peace was just the way you'd like it to be, it would be like what? Let's think about if peace was just the way you'd like it to be. Hello Sky, thanks for joining us, and waving again, Mary. So the 3 of you that are on now, and anyone that's coming in, Mary, if you could put perhaps the questions I'm asking, then anyone joining in late can come and join in as well. But what I'd like to know is if peace was just the way you'd like it to be, it'd be like what? But I also want you to think about, if it's on a scale of 1 to 10, if peace was just the way you'd like it, you'd give it a score of 10 out of 10. Hi, Rita. Then I want you to think about what score would you give peace for you right now? Okay, because this is my story of my quest for peace. And 10 years ago, when I started my quest for peace, I thought that by helping other people, by being a coach, I could help loads of people. I'd listen to people. What I was able to do is help bring more peace to other people. But what was missing for me was inner peace. It was my head was still chattering. It was still I had lots of conversations going on, and so external peace. I was seeing that by coaching and supporting other people, I was bringing more peace to people's lives. But I wasn't gaining that inner peace for myself. So I probably had 2 measures. So outside, it felt like a 7 or 8 out of 10. It was always a kind of work in progress. I could see things that could be improved for other people. But for me personally, my score of peace inside was probably a 3. And then in 2014, I committed to writing my book, Manage Your Critic from Overwhelm to Clarity. And what that did is it gave me the opportunity to tell my story, but it also gave me the opportunity to stop telling the victim story of, you know, I had to clean the story up. I had to get to the point where I wasn't complaining about everything and everyone. And in doing that, I started to increase that score of inner peace. I started to recognize, and by writing the book effectively, I was getting the same benefits of being coached, because I'm getting my story heard by lots and lots of people. So that started the process in 2014. And then last year, at the beginning of last year, 2017, Mary and I were working together, and Mary came to me because we were working on her programs and what she was doing, and I was helping her to get clarity and confidence. And I remember I sign, because whenever I work with clients, I sign up for their newsletters, I look at their websites, I read their blogs, I coach them, and I'm listening to all their language patterns. And the more I spent time with Mary, I just felt really blessed. And I might cry now, because you are a wonderful woman. You are the most amazing woman. This is a lady that holds space in such a gentle, loving, caring, nurturing way. And I've always been one that's, you know, people come to me because I make things happen, and I'm very high energy, and you know, I'm holding people accountable, and I want things done, fast. And that's who I am, and I can get results very quickly. And life is not always about racing at that pace. And so spending time with Mary and listening to the way that she wanted to run her business, and honoring the pace that Mary wanted to do things at, meant I had to assimilate, if you like, come in line with that as her coach. But the day that, so I started getting the newsletters, and if you're not on our newsletters, please, Mary, put your link I've just seen your comments, so that you might cry as well, Mary. So put the link to your newsletter, Mary, because I know that this is where my inspiration started. I signed up for Mary's newsletter, and she would send these beautiful images of the Cornwall area, and I would be inspired just at what she was paying attention to, what she was noticing, and that the newsletter had it almost like felt there was less words. I'm quite a wordy person, I guess. I'm still here telling stories, and it's one of my major strengths, but it's also one of those things that doesn't always serve me when I'm looking for inner peace. And so Mary would send these pictures through, and I would see the cliffs of Cornwall. And I live, if those who don't know, I live in Hampshire. I'm in Gosport, and so I'm on a quite a flat area. We're in a kind of microclimate here. We've got Portsdown Hill behind us. It's a little hill. We've got Winchester Hill. But the actual coastline is really quite flat. You literally sort of walk down onto the beach, and everything's very flat. And I've had a real sense over the last year, in order to gain inner peace, that I needed to be elevated. So Mark and I have been cycling. We've cycled up hills. We've booked campsites that are on the cliffs. Last year we booked a campsite looking over Weymouth Bay. So I've been very much having a sense I needed to get up to a higher level. I needed to have a bigger picture. And it's only now on reflection I kind of know that those cliffs, there was a newsletter that Mary sent me, and it said about that if you looked over this way, there's absolutely nothing blocking your vision, because you know, you'd have to keep going until you got to America, or you have to keep going until you got to Ireland. Whereas actually where I live, if you look across the sea, I've literally got the Isle of Wight constantly, if you like, blocking my view. So the first reason why I physically took the day out and travelled to Cornwall to spend time with Mary was I had this sense that there was a wider expanse, a wider view. And this is a number one reason as well for people to think about why you would go on a retreat. Why would you physically get up, move yourself, and go somewhere? Karen and I run retreats in Spain, and we're helping people to write books, and where we go is quite mountainous, and but the actual so you're up top, you're up quite high, and you've got a view, and you can see mountain tops, and you're in a village with only 700 inhabitants who live manana. Everything is like, you know, ordering a drink, it just takes time, so you're forced to slow down. So when you go to these different spaces, when you spend time, when people come to me, they come into my home, and actually it's much more about really focusing. It's really getting clarity, and it's really building on that. So it's very inward work. It's very it's talking about, it's listening to yourself. But there was something about that newsletter, Mary, and I thank you for the newsletters you send out, because I know the time and effort that it takes us as coaches to write these newsletters. And if you're reading newsletters from anybody, me, anyway, send a reply every now and again and just say how helpful things are, because it's really easy for people to be putting their stuff out there and not know that it's having value and it's making a difference. So the first thing that called me is I had this sense I needed to be higher, and that Cornwall could give me that. Also, there was another thing, that my husband had a real strong calling with Cornwall. He's got really strong memories with Nuki and his days of surfing. My business partner, when I collaborated very early on in my business, Roz, had really fun. She used to talk about Cornwall with very fond memories. And yet the only time I'd ever been there, I was probably at a time that was quite low in my life, and I didn't remember it. I didn't remember anything about it. So there was a sense that I wanted to go back to this space as well, and recreate good memories, to have fond memories of this place, and to share it with somebody like Mary, who really loved the area. So that was the trigger. I was working with Mary, and I was listening to her, and then I was reading her newsletters, and this one particular one that said, if you go this far, you've got a clear view. And that is what Mary's like when she is. I suppose when I compare the difference between our work, I'm very much reflecting the person back to them. Whereas Mary stands alongside you like a companion and a guide, and just looks at the view with you, and is just inspired by it, and is just in awe of it. And she includes you in that view. It's just a magical process to experience with her. So from there, I did one of her Power Flower. Sorry if I've got that wrong, Mary. Online coaching. So this is it. For those of you, put your hands up if you've done this before, or if you've got one of these, along with these beautiful self-discovery cards, which again, Mary, please put links below, because this is where you can let people know how to get more of this stuff. So these have got beautiful cards. You can pull them out. They've got words on. The ones I've got today, just so you know, we've got 3 cards that have come up, and I've got beginnings, laughters, and self-love. They were the 3 that I pulled before I did this video today. So I did the unfurling of the flower power flower even. And so what you'll see is in the very beginning is peace, and it obviously it's a different color, and so it stood out for me, and I was like, yeah, I want more peace. And I've always felt that I had quite clear purpose, and I had quite a strong passion for what I was doing. I resonated with myself being in fact, one of my events, which I'll tell you a little bit about, was called Power Group. So I had power in my mindset, and I was just starting last year with my clients to start experimenting with the importance of celebrating change. So progress I was kind of aware of, but this bit in the middle felt like it was a bit that was really missing, inner peace for me personally. So bearing in mind that I help clients to achieve that through helping them get clarity and confidence to be themselves without apology, and to be mindful of the language they're using, and being aware of saying what you mean and meaning what you say, and then when you do say it, don't be mean when you say it. Kind of that's the general ethos of what I do. You'd think I'd know how to do it, but the thing with life is Mary and I share lots of self-coaching tools between us, and you will get to see about 320 degrees of yourself, and then there's always that 40 degrees wedge that you just physically can't see for yourself, you can't experience, you can't understand, because it's just outside your awareness, it's outside your conscious awareness. And so Mary and I have got a couple of metaphors that we use. One of them is that hairdressers always have to have the back of their hair cut by somebody else. You can't physically see underneath your nose without a mirror. So there's always parts of us that we cannot see or hear or experience without the input, without the support of other people. And we often wish and want other people to provide that support for us without actually really knowing what it is we really need. We just know something's missing. So when I came across Mary and I did the things, I kind of got that light bulb moment that peace was the thing that was missing for me. And if you've ever been on a phone call with Mary, and if you haven't, get on the call, go and have one of her self-discovery calls. She does this amazing offer where you got, half an hour with her. I think it's half an hour. But go and just spend time with her. She is the essence of peace. She is at peace. She's gentle and kind, just by her whole being. When she shows up, it is peace. And so it wasn't too much of a big decision from there to, I was light to the cliffs. I was feeling and experiencing peace just by being with her, that it wasn't a big leap to invest the time and the money to do a quest day with Mary, because I wanted more of what she gives out, you know, just her whole energy, her whole persona. I was like, I want more of that. And then we started coaching, and she was telling me about these quest days and how she thought they were going to work, and how she'd like them to be. And I was like, I want to be on one of those. That is just like my idea of heaven. It's my idea of being free. So if you don't know about the quest days, basically, what Mary was giving me was some of the stuff I give my clients. So one of the things I do on my VIP days is we physically move around spaces. Now, it might be within my home, or I've got a camper van. We might get in the camper van and we might drive somewhere. And so Mary was saying to me about these quest days and saying that actually we can drive around Cornwall. So I don't know that you're going to be able to see this very well, but this is basically the area that we travelled on the day of the quest. So I met Mary here, and that was the first space was peace. And then we moved up to here, and in this space we were exploring purpose. And then we drove over to here and we explored passion, and we walked to here and explored power. Then we drove and got here and we explored progress, and then we came back to where we started. So we did this figure of 8 around the Cornwall countryside. So there was plenty of time to process. Mary was in her car, and actually I brought my husband with me because I know that my memory isn't particularly good, and part of the reason why I had identified why I wasn't at peace a lot of the time is because I don't remember the good stuff that's going on in my life. I don't remember the magical moments. I feel it when it goes wrong, and I hang on to that feeling really, really for ages, or I used to. So I knew my memory wasn't particularly good, and I knew that I was a very visual person, and I also knew the pictures that Mary had been taken or that in the newsletter had really triggered something for me. So my husband, who is a keen photographer, I asked him to come along. He's also a clean language facilitator like myself. So I knew that if I needed a bit of me really back, that he would be there to ask questions. So I was actually very privileged, because this is Mary's baby. This is the quest day. This is what she's launching. This is what she wants to do. And I say to her, can I bring Mark along? And she doesn't bat an eyelid. She's fine about it. And you know what? That's what's so magical about her. She's so grounded. She's so self-assured. She is so aware of other people needing to find themselves, that she doesn't have an ego getting in the way, like, he's going to ruin my day or whatever. And we had this most peaceful, magical, easy flowing day together. And Mark was able to take fit pictures. So the one that I particularly, I put it on the event I put up today. I think I've got it in the book. I'd be surprised if I haven't. But there is one where Mark's taken a picture of both Mary and I, and we couldn't have got that picture of ourselves because we couldn't physically take a picture of ourselves at that angle. So this one here, you might be able to see it. This is Mary and I. Oops, this one. Can't put my fingers there. So that's there. So Mark stood back, taking a photograph of us looking out, and this is actually in the power space. And what's interesting is I always felt that one of my strengths was the power behind my communication, my power, my energy, my enthusiasm for stuff. And it often is my nemesis as well, because I don't learn to quiet down. And so the whole process I went through with Mary took me on a journey on that day. And I came there with wanting, I called it a quest for peace. It was a quest day, and the flowers presented in it, and I made that part. That was what I wanted, and Mary honoured that and absolutely followed me. And as she says, she's guide and she's a companion, and she knows the spaces. And so she was taking me to the spaces to honour these particular words. And then, of course, when we get there, she has these magical cards. And I say they're magical because one of the things about self-discovery, about learning about yourself, is that you need to listen to yourself. You need to be able to go inward. And yet the brain is stimulated by external stimulation. So it's a real oxymoron. You get stuck between needing input from other people to stimulate your thinking, to not wanting them to keep putting their stuff into it. And so with Mary, which is no surprise, she has this really gentle way of doing that. So she takes you on these journeys, whether you work with her on Skype or whether you work with her face to face on the quest days or in her workshops. She has this really gentle way of bringing other things in that you can choose to be inspired by, can choose to think. Somebody's put in lots of love hearts, and I just absolutely can't express it enough. Because what happened on the day is, so let's take one of these. So the first one I was in the, you might have to put the name of the things. I'm not very good with names. It was at a cafe where we met. So this was me, and I kept that one because my husband was laughing at the concentration on my face. So that was his input. He saw this as really, really sort of concentrating. And I'll be honest with you, we didn't catch it in the moment. He was so busy taking the mickey out of my face that he didn't actually take a photograph. So I posed for that afterwards, and we've captured that. And then when we came outside, this is Mary and I, and it's a really good representation. We're just looking at the view outside the cafe. And that when we were in the cafe, that I drew one card, and it was synchronicity. And those of you know that my work's about managing critic. The first thing that came to my mind was a flipping long word, and I don't actually know what it means. Not really. I do now know. It's sort of like it's when the magic happens. So Mary talks about taking on a magic carpet ride. It is when the magic happens, when all the pieces start to fall into place. And I've got some notes from before Mary arrived. I was just downloading why I was here, why did I come, what am I doing here, and I had 3 relationships in my life that were not where I'd like them to be. Despite all the communication training I've got, I knew that I needed more inner peace in order to show up in those relationships better. So one change that's happened as a direct result of this program is that on that day, I didn't talk about those relationships. I was working on my inner peace. Right now, today, when I reflected on it, I can't remember who the third person was. So whatever, it's obviously not causing any problems. It's gone. That third relationship, I have no idea who it was. I just wrote my notes. I've got 3 relationships that are not where I'd like them to be. So I'm assuming it's all gone and sorted because I'm not talking about it in my head anymore. The other 2 are at peace. It's sorted. And I'm not speaking to them, and that sounds awful, but that's because they're away at the moment. I'm okay with it, because what was happening before was that we would have long gaps between talking, and my brain would go into story mode about they don't care because they don't contact me, they don't say much when they do contact me, that, you know, I had a whole story going on, and all of that stopped. So thank you, Mary. And I do know why that happened, and I will talk about it as we go through the process. So I'm just going to quickly check any comments here in case there's anything I'm supposed to be answering. I can't do it. Let me have a look, see if I can. Rita, thanks. You've got your business is called Peace Solution, Inner Peace Solutions, and your own peace is currently compromised. I'm with you there. My business is about managing critic, it's about clarity and confidence. It's a work in progress. We've got to have the love. We've got to have the inspiration from those around us as well as in us. It's always going to happen. I have got an amazing sense of peace in my life right now. And that doesn't mean that since I spoke to Mary on the quest day on the 4th of November 2017, we've had 2 massive family rows in this house, okay? One that went on a lot longer than I would like to have done. And it wasn't really me, it was 2 other members in the family, and I was just mediating between it. And then one yesterday in my family. But yesterday it lasted about 2 minutes, and we've now got peace. There's the difference. It's going to happen. Stuff happens. You know, we get scared as human beings. We get overtired. And in our family this week, we've had some stuff going on that was completely outside our control. It's knocked all of our sleep patterns out of the window. Most of us we're really exhausted. We've all kind of had a good night's sleep last night, and we seem to have caught up, and we're now settled and grounded. And I knew I was coming to do a video about peace. That might have helped as well. But it's, yeah, you know, reiterate, it's a work in progress. Sarah, you put interesting. I feel quite bogged down where I live. I love my home, but not the area. The area is downtrodden, and so are the people. It's interesting you would say that, because I live in what they call one of the most deprived areas in the UK, and definitely in Gosport. And so when I look out my window, I've got council houses, and sometimes my neighbours have got furniture on their drives. It's not necessarily outwardly the most amazing view physically to look at. But what helps me, and I don't know if this helps you at all, in my quest for peace, is I focus on inwardly about what works. And I'm working a lot this year on my internal environment, my home, because I've tried to emphasize for moving, and I've tried it. Mark and I keep thinking about moving, and every time we think about it, we can't find a better place to go, because actually here what I've got is a massive community. I've got neighbours that I trust, neighbours who look after me and look out for me, and I've been here 20 years. So the camper van was our solution. It gives us the ability to go elsewhere, but also going on retreats. So I go to Spain once a year now, and actually taking time out on my own in the camper van for whole days, where I'm not responsible or accountable to other people, is giving me a huge amount of freedom. I'm booking this day with Mary, and I just so you know, Mary, I will be booking another one. I need to work on progress next time. I'll be coming back down again sometime this year. Mary, right now, a 10, just back from a walk on the beach. Perfect. And we've got other people here with 5s on their piece. Okay, so we started with peace, the synchronicity. So my card was a pink one. You can, if you say it was yours, think about that. What does that bring up for you? I think your words are, Mary, what does the word mean to you? What does the colour mean to you? So I spent a little bit of time in the cafe. I wrote down some words, which I've kept in a folder. That's one thing I will say to you. A lot of people pay for coaching, and they don't think they get a huge amount of value out of it, and it's because they don't reflect on it. They don't go back over it. So I pay quite a lot for my coaching right now. I've paid up to £1,200 for half a day with somebody before. The difference is I know how to maximize that time. I know the benefit is going to get to it because I know what I'm going in for. So when Mary booked me on the quest day, one of the things that often you think when you look at the price of it, you might be thinking you're paying for a day with Mary. You're not. You're paying for a transformation that's going to last a lifetime, and it's still lasting right now. I'm here in January. This was in November. I think we booked it end of September, beginning of October, and the minute I booked it, Mary sent me a questionnaire and asked me about things I wanted to get out of it. So the minute I've written that down, as long as I keep it somewhere and I read it and I remember it and I focus my attention on it, then the work starts. So those relationships that I wanted a better relationship with, more peace with them, the inner peace that I wanted, because I've now said what I want to get out of the day, and I've said what I want from it, and I've committed to my part of it. The work started the day I booked it. So if you say to Mary, right, I want to book one for the spring, in, I don't know, March, April time, then the fact that you book it now, one, you pay the money, 2, you write out the questionnaire form, and it's your responsibility to hold on to that information. And Mary's good at keeping in touch with you, and what I tend to do with my clients, if they book things in advance, I'll send them a weekly accountability email to reflect on it, to think about it, and it can be quite scary for some of the clients because the change starts to happen already, and they're like, well, what's going to happen on the day if it's already started to happen right now? So one of the things that people underestimate about coaching or retreats or these booking things to go away, the minute you book it, the minute you pay your money, whatever that price is, so long as the coach is someone who's prepared to set you up for success, they'll send you questions that will start you coaching yourself. They'll start you thinking about what you're going on. So this journey for me started in September. I paid for what looks like a day, but I got that. I believe we then had another phone call, Mary and I, so we had a conversation to talk through about the day. So when I arrived the night before. Mark and I went down and stayed in the bongo, and we got to the cafe probably about 9 o'clock. I ordered my breakfast, and I just sat and wrote down everything that I'd noticed or learned from the day I booked it till the minute I was there, and really clarified for myself, what did I want to get from today? What was the purpose of today for me? And so that's where the work comes in. So let me just let us know other comments. Yeah, I have to say, Diane, you said about my camper van. One of the things I'd also say choose the camper van really well, but because you get in the back of the van and you've got seats facing opposite directions to when you're just driving, I can get all different new perspectives, and space is so important. That's why I was so enthralled and so interested in Mary's day. I do a lot. There's a book called Insights into Space by Marion Way and James Lawley. And the brain is taking on what it sees around it all the time. So if you physically change your physical space and your viewpoints, you get new insights. So physically getting in the car and traveling around Cornwall for the day in itself, if you are paying attention, and Mary is your guide, you cannot not pay attention. But you can also be in tune with yourself and be curious about what you're interested in, and Mary will tell you what she's interested in, and it's the combined magic is where the things start to happen. I'm aware it's past. Can you give me a thumbs up if you're fed up and it's going on too much? And I'll carry on talking if you're happy listening. The next place was purpose. So this is the space. These are some images from the day. So the one there with Mary and I laughing at the top here. Obviously, no, I can't do it from the video. Back to front, there it is. So I did say I was going to get laughter today. Again, this picture, without Mark being there, I wouldn't have that memory, because I wouldn't have known how I looked or how I was approaching things. This is the one down the bottom here is me. There was a little hill, and we would come up to a walkway, and Mary said we're going to go this way. She was guiding us back to walk a circuit to get back to the car. And there was this little tiny hill, and I had just this sense I needed to run down it and run back up it. And I just needed to burn some energy off. And I guess with purpose, that is who I am. People want things to change. And so I trusted myself and I went off. Mark actually videoed it as well as photographed it. And so these photographs for me, so these are some of the views we had. This is the sky. I can't point back to front, I've realised. This is the sky that when we were sat on those benches, that's what we could see. This one over here is a picture of a boat that was in the shop windows. We went past it. And this one where my finger is, this one here, that's Mary and I back at the camper van looking at where we're going to go next. And the top two here, for me, these are, Mark's captured the thoughtfulness here for me, because I was really thinking about my purpose and the two words, great gratitude and serenity. And when I first saw the petal purpose, I was thinking about my purpose on the planet, because we talk about that a lot, especially as coaches, what's my purpose, why am I here? But when those words come out, and now as I'm relaying it back to you, I'm thinking actually the purpose of the day was to have more gratitude and more serenity. And Mark's picture, they've captured those pictures. And so by doing this work afterwards, taking the photographs, going back to my notes, so many people pay for coaching and then don't review it again. They just expect it all to happen. And actually the chances are it has happened. You're just not aware of it. And so I'm only just now becoming consciously aware, because I'm sharing the story with you, that I have more gratitude in my life and I have more serenity in my life. So that had happened. That was embedded in my head, but I wasn't consciously aware of it until I just shared the story with you right now. Even though I've sat here and gone through the workbook, I've read through this photo book, I've made notes, I hadn't twigged it until I started to tell you the story. So it's really important that we tell our stories, that we share it, but it's also really important that we listen to what we're saying. Rita, I've just changed my office, new colour on the walls, all furniture in a different position, same reason, to gain a new perspective, and more importantly, how that makes me feel. Fab. It is so important to pay attention to it. I run retreats in my home, so I have a massive shift round in August and in December. We clear out a lot of stuff, get rid of old paperwork. That it's really important to notice what your environment's doing to your thinking. And that's why going to Cornwall, massive outside, it started to rain, and it was, we were all wrapped up, and you'll see that in some of the photos I changed my coat. You do need that reflection, you need that space, and you can't physically get that in your home. So you have to be willing to go out. And if you're not sure where to go, then book a companion, book a guide like Mary to take you out there. Reflection is such an important part of growth, change, development in life. It absolutely is. And on my journey, Diane, was that I was really become so sensitive to criticism that and I didn't realise that it's because I wasn't really hearing when people said I did something well. So I couldn't take on feedback about stuff that wasn't working. And if you get a really good coach, someone like Mary, she isn't there to give you feedback about what's not working. She's giving you feedback about the stuff you're not noticing, which I'll tell you about when I get to the power page, because that's when the real shift happened. So after that, we walked round to Passion, which ironically, and those of you know me, my past life was Slim and Well consultant. So the Passion was actually at the restaurant where we're having lunch. And these are some of the views that we got as we walked to the restaurant. And there's a lot more words come out here. No surprise, because when I'm talking and eating, lots more words came out. But I'm just looking at them now and thinking about what's come out, what's happened as a result of that. One of the big things that's happened about that is the word abundance. I've realised that food will always be there, so I don't have to eat loads now. I can have a little bit now and have some more later. So there has been some shifts. So I'm more at peace with myself in terms of food, what I eat and how I eat. Not giving myself so much hard time about failing. So if I have a glass of wine today, I'm okay about it. If I have a cake, I'm okay about it. I know what moderation is. And I just want to share this with you, Mary. I've only just realised that as I'm talking out loud about it, that I know that I could tell you that I've got more peace right here, right now, but I hadn't looked at it. And one of the voices I've always had is like, you know, you shouldn't eat this, you shouldn't do that. And that's gone. It has really, really disappeared. So I'm not justifying it. I'm having it because I want it. And I know whether it'll make me, what it'll make me feel like. And if that's how I want to feel, I'm really okay with that. So that's a massive, massive change. So thank you so much, Mary. I hadn't quite twigged that one. Relaxation learning. I think the other big thing that's changed since doing the quest day is I go out, and when I walk, I'm more mindful. I'm watching the trees. I'm looking at the architecture. I'm being curious about the people that I pass. And I'm just really being in the moment, which is very much about this. And I've also forgot, you know, really what I do is, my passion is about helping people be in the moment, being okay with who they are. And when they come on retreats, it's very much about being, it's about experiencing what's happening in that moment. So when I first looked at that, when I did it on the day, the passion was very much thinking about communication skills, and it's about everything I do for everybody else. But actually, one of the things that are in my my notes when I look back at it was about food, fun and family was some of my passions. And so also what's happened, and I've forgotten about this too, is that I'm having more fun with my family. One of the other things I was struggling with was I was celebrating my 50th birthday in December, which is part of the reason why I gave the quest day as a gift to myself in November. We had a fantastic family gathering, which I organised, and I brought it all together, and it went really, really well. So that's definitely something that's changing, and we've now got more family events booked up. And the difference is that in the past, my story would have been, oh, it's going to be this, it's going to be that, and I'd have my critic doing. Now I'm just looking forward to what photographs are we going to take, what memories are we going to create, and Mark and I are sort of thinking about ways we can do photo books like this for the transitions and growth of our grandchildren, our family, our hobbies. You know, everything that we're doing that's changing, we want to photograph it and record it. So instead of like dreading these events because I'm tired, or people might not like me because I wasn't very good socially. What I am noticing is, because I've got more peace, I'm going to these things with a purpose of being present and enjoying it and recording the memories from it. So that's a change from that one. Thank you, Mary. And I have to say, I just want to say that, like, this image is here. This looks like it's like a painting. I was actually there. I was actually watching that. And then you walk up and you get the other colours over here. It was just, that was, I think, a 20-minute walk or something, Mary, from one place to the other. And that's the kind of views you get when you go on the quest days with Mary. It's just gorgeous. So the one where the big shift happened was in the power space. So this is where this is the point that was on the newsletter, where you can look out and you can see across. I believe that's where it is. I might be wrong, actually. It might be in the progress one. All right. No, it isn't. I think that's where I was expecting it to be. But here it was really, really noisy. If you can imagine those waves really, really chopping, so it was really noisy. You could hear the power of the waves. And I remember that's what it was when because we don't really get big waves in Gosport. We've got the Isle of Wight protecting us, so it just kind of flops in the sea, which is really nice. It's very peaceful, it's very tranquil, but it lacked power. And I remember reading in Mary's newsletter about the power, and I wanted to be there. I wanted to experience it. And we got there, and the wind was up, and the waves were chopping, and I was like, yeah, this is the space for power. And Mary and I have always had this conversation. Mary was going, it's a bit more sheltered around there. And I was like, no, I want to be here. This is the power. And I thought, actually, I'm here to be guided by Mary. I can be all very like, it's my day and I can do what I want to do and it's, you know, I'm going to do it. Or I can be guided by her. That's what I've paid this lady for. So I went with Mary and we ended up on this gorgeous beach here, down here, where the waves were much gentler. Really can't do it this way here. Much gentler. And they were lapping in, but there was a couple of rocks, so they did sort of splash up. And Mark got some fantastic pictures. You can probably catch it on this one here, where the water was splashing up over the rocks. And we ended up in a little tiny bit around the corner on the cove here. And I had the sense I just needed to meditate. I needed to sit and I needed to be there. And Mary and Mark were really worried I was going to get wet from the things. They kept trying to sort of tell me to move forward. I'm like, no, I'm okay. And something magical happened in that moment. In that moment, I kind of realized the power of quietness. And that's what Mary brings to this world. She's a really quiet person with so much power, so much gentleness, so much love to share with you, to inspire you to be that kinder, more loving, more grounded, more centered person. And in that moment, I was able to use my communication stuff to say, I'm okay, I'm fine here. And what I discovered was the words that came out were celebration, choice, surrender, and faith. And something happened in that moment where I absolutely had faith in myself and my choices and was able to celebrate it. And then as I stood up, Mary did something. She went, oh, like that. And I was like, what's happening for you? She went, oh, I felt that. And I went, felt what? The shift. And I was like, now I hadn't felt it. I just kind of knew it, if that makes sense. I kind of knew that there was something here intellectually. And that's when we ended up with a hug. And Mark caught that on camera. Because I never was very good at having hugs. My daughters had to teach me to, I'm usually like tap on the back kind of hug. And I'm learning that those embraces, those moments where your two hearts are sort of connected and you're breathing and you're in line with each other, that you share something really magical. And so Mary invited me to have a hug and I was able to stay there in that moment. And it's like that power of peace was transformed. And I can't guarantee this is what's going to happen on your quest days with Mary, because you'll bring your own magic and you'll bring your own curiosity and your own quest. And Mary will be Mary, and Mary will reflect what she reflects, and it'll be up to you to hear the wisdom that's there in the nature, in the waves, in the birds, in the trees, and in yourself, and in Mary. And Mary is really, really focused on wanting you to hear your inner wisdom, because she's quite happy to share her inner wisdom. And Mark, as we walked back through that beach, one of the things that Mary did, which I was very grateful for, she asked to take a picture of Mark, because actually he hadn't been included up to this point, which I'll show you at the end. But these are some of the views that we got. The reflection and the actual rays that were coming through the sun here. I mean, it was just so different from this really kind of noisy, windy, and there's a time and place for this kind of energy, this kind of power, and there's this kind of power, this gentle power, this loving serenity. It's just having gratitude for both was what I got from it. That my way wasn't necessarily wrong, it was just a different way of experience power. And I want to keep honoring that part, because I like my high energy, but this is what I was missing in order to get that inner peace. Mary put, hearing yourself think is such a big part of this process that all coaches facilitate. Sky, you've just noticed that my cushions look like mountains behind me. Yeah. Shall I tell you the confession? There's a bit of blue tack stuck on the wall and I needed to cover it up so you couldn't see my messy wall. So yeah, there's a bit of honesty coming out there, but thank you for noticing my mountain. I will honour that, and I will, I've laughed it off actually. That's probably me being a bit embarrassed because I know why that's sticking up like that. But maybe, just maybe, that piece of blue tack was there, and the fact that I wanted to create a peaceful environment for you and I today, I've covered up the blue tack, and it's given me some peaks to think about. So I will definitely thank you for sharing that, Sky, because I will see my cushions differently as a result of your contribution to today's video. So thank you, massive thank you. So the next one was progress. Now, I haven't told Mary this bit, so I'm hoping that we'll be okay with me saying, but we've got to this point, and by now time is running out a little bit. But up to now, I think I've got one note in my diary that I haven't really seen Mary looking at the watch. I'm not really aware that she's worried about time. But we get to this one, and it only seems like to be sort of 2 viewpoints to look at. I've only taken a couple of photographs in this position. Or Mark's only captured a couple of pictures, and what it felt like is I needed more time to be in progress, to actually acknowledge the progress that's been made. But what I've realized since is that the brain can't assimilate it that quickly. I don't think, even if I'd sat there for an hour, I probably wouldn't have got the value out of the day, the progress I'd made. And it's part of my quest with my work. Mary's got all the P's, with peace and purpose and passion and power, and perhaps we ought to add in their profit as well, Mary. But for me, it's about clarity, confidence, change, courage, compassion, care, and celebrating change is a really key part of the work that I do. And one of my notes I drove on the way back, I sort of felt quite sort of low, and it's because I wasn't able to assimilate the progress that I'd made. And so the big learning I've got is I have to take my own advice now. I need to be celebrating the changes that are happening, because it's taking the time out to reflect on it, getting these photographs, having this video with you guys today. It's the follow-up work that Mary offers. It's that one-to-one coaching. Now, we did have a celebration call, I think about 2 weeks, 3 weeks afterwards. And and it's reminded me, because I've got a recording of it. I'll probably get it out today when I go my Nordic walking, and I'm going to listen back to that recording, because what I'm noticing is that it's only in the telling of you, telling you today the changes, that I'm kind of really remembering the power of that day. And it was on the day of the celebration call, I remember going, oh, that's changed, but I wasn't really paying attention to it. So if you guys pay for coaching, whether it's with Mary or myself, if it's Mary, she'll follow up with you. She'll want to know what's going on, because she cares, and she's gentle, and she's curious. And I will, because I'm driven to know what's happened, and I want to know that there's results. We come at it slightly different reasons why we do it, but we both like to know what's happening afterwards. But if you don't get a coach that follows up with you, then make sure you follow up yourself, because that's where the value comes. Getting someone to hear you for a day, getting someone to reflect you back to you so you get clarity of yourself, is the most life-changing process that you can ever go through. But if you don't follow up with yourself, if you don't celebrate the change that you get as a result of those investments, you may be left thinking that coaching is a waste of time or money. And it's going through this process now that I'm getting those insights. So I'm just looking purpose and kindness. Do you know what? I'd kind of forgotten about that. But that one thing that's been happening is that I have really, really embraced being kinder to myself and other people. So I'm making a conscious effort. So I'm pretty good with my clients, if I'm honest, sending thank you cards and celebration cards. Not so good with my family, and bearing in mind it was 3 personal relationships that I wanted to improve. So I've sent cards to those people. I'm treating my family with the same consideration, consciousness that I would my clients. I'm being as thoughtful with my family as I am my business. And I had a process for it with my business, and there were certain key points. So I've had to think about, I've been listening when we've on the family events and listening to what matters to people, and I've been collecting photographs and collecting them in albums ready to give them as gifts at Christmas or birthdays or whatever it might be. But I've also been sending them handwritten notes, sending them thank you cards for their time, sending them little texts. And so kindness, actually, I hadn't realized, Mary, that has had a massive change. And so I think what it was is, and that's because your cards have given that to me. If I just turned up at Progress in that space on my own without you, that was another thing I wanted to say to you. Why didn't I just go with Mark? You know, Mark's a trained facilitator. Mark's a photographer. We've got the bongo. We could have travelled around Cornwall and done this all on our own. Why not? One, because we wouldn't have had Mary's energy. All right. We wouldn't have Mary's passion and love for the area. We wouldn't have Mary's knowledge, so we wouldn't have got round to as many places in a shorter period of time. And we wouldn't have had Mary's cards, because if I turned up without the word progress, without the word kindness, or without the word purpose, and without Mary saying, what does that mean to you? What I would have had would have been rocks. Now I have got a picture, I think this is this one here. Mark's me trying to do that funny thing when you try and push the rocks apart. And I think that really sums it up, is that I knew I needed to make space for something. I knew I needed to have a gap for more stuff to come in. But without the input, without the reflection, without the contribution of others, I may not have been inspired to think about kindness. I may not have, and if I hadn't had you guys listening to me this morning, I thank you from the bottom of my heart, because I know I've been on here a long time now, is if I hadn't had that space to tell you my story today, so this is almost like a free coaching session for me, so thank you very much, Mary, is I wouldn't have recognised that I took that photograph without consciously thinking about it. I just thought it'd be funny, just thought it'd be a bit of a laugh. But actually what I realised is that was the progress I was making. I'd given myself a day to go out, and I didn't talk about my business at all on that day. It wasn't about, I tend to work with people to get their business message clearer, to manage their family's expectations, to manage their life. People want to get their business to be successful so they have more time with their family. And whilst I do that, I wasn't very good at taking time out just for me. And so this day, actually, what I've realised is I had carved a whole day out. In fact, I carved the whole weekend out. And Mark, my husband, and I love him to death because he honours what I need and he does everything he can to support me. He knew this was a personal journey weekend. This was not just a weekend away from us. He knew that when in between, like on the night before, I needed to journal, I needed to reflect, I needed to journal on the next day coming back as well. And so the focus was all on this piece, this conversation. So him and I were having conversations about peace. So that's why I needed to be with Mary and why I needed to go there, but why you need to reflect on it, why you need to have ongoing coaching and not just do one-off sessions, is because the magic starts to happen when you reflect back on it and you start to notice the changes. And we were very lucky. I don't know if you can see it, but on there, the rainbow came out. And I always think of a pot of gold at the end of the rainbows whenever I see a rainbow. But it was just, and this is actually the space where you can see nothing all the way out to Ireland and America. So I suppose progress really was, when I think about it now, is I was giving myself more space, and that rock is that's what it is. I give my clients time and space. I give my family a huge amount of time and space. I'm always, when they need to talk, I do my best to switch from whatever I'm doing and be present. I'm not saying I do that very well. Paying clients is different. I know what time I've got to start listening. I know when I'm going to have a break. But I often don't show up for myself. I don't give myself space and time. So this is space and time for me. So Mark's out cycling. I can hear Liam just getting up now. So I've had the whole morning to reflect, to journal. And that's something that's changed. That's a big progress. And I'm inspired by your newsletters, Mary, because you inspire me to do that. So that meant I finished the day with my flowers. We went back to the original, the cafe where we started. This is the map of the journey that we took. These are all the words that came out on the day. And I've now got that as a permanent image. And I've got this book as well. And we did finish with hot chocolate and cream. Now I'm only sharing a little bits of the story with you. I've got lots of photographs in here transitioning from one to the other. I do believe we've got it online actually, Mary, where we show people the pictures. And when I read my notes, there's even more details in there. But this is a picture of my husband that Mary took. So that's Mary and myself and Mark. So a huge thank you to both of you. I've just, but thank you to me. I've just spotted Rita's comment that says, there's me thinking you set the stage for the perfect backdrop for filming. I did, Rita. If you could see, do I tell you, if you could see how bad my office looks right now, I suppose maybe that's a really good place to leave this, is that peace for me has to be inside and outside. I truly believe that, bye Ruth, see you soon. I truly believe that world peace can come when we have inner peace and when we create peace in our immediate world. But it's always a work in progress. So I'm going to leave you with a quick whiz around my office. You can see, that's the pile where my laptop is sat. That's all my work. There's the picture on the floor that I've taken off the wall in order to try and make the back look more peaceful and to be clearer stuff. And I took some time to wonder, do I really turn up in my PJs for this call today or not? It's just, we have to get more peace. So I'm going to leave you. Please, Mary, put links, put what you need to do on these comments. I'll have a quick through once I've logged the video off. I don't want to stay here. But if you've got any questions before I go, I don't have to dash off anywhere. But if you've got any questions about the process, about my time with Mary, if there's anything you want to know, please tag me. My husband is due home shortly, so I may not be online very much the rest of this afternoon. But certainly this evening or tomorrow morning, I'll be able to answer any questions. But I want to thank you, because this video, this recording, has given me time and space to really acknowledge the change that I've created in my life by investing in a time with Mary. So I'm going to quickly whiz the lost my mouse, it's fallen on the floor. Let me see if I can, if there's any comments I need to relate to before I go. Mary, you put here, the great thing was that it was unusually calm the day before, so I'm glad the weather changed for you. We had this conversation before I went, so it's a good point to mention. If you're sat there thinking, oh, well, I can't go if, you know, because the weather might not be nice on the day. One of the things we talked about is that you have a choice when it comes to weather. Mark has a saying, you know, there's no such thing as bad weather, there's just bad clothing. And I was very much of the mentality that the weather will give me the inspiration, it will provide me with whatever it is. So if I'd gone there and I was expecting really sort of choppy waves to inspire power, and they were all calm and tranquil, I think I would have just got there quicker, Mary, because you took me around to a place that was calm and tranquil, and that was what I was meant to be. That's the message I was meant to be receiving on the day. I truly believe that everything in the universe shows up exactly how you need it to be, if you're listening and paying attention to it. So I don't think it would have mattered what the weather was like. So I mean, and I'm curious to go back and see the same places in a different season. So I came in November, so to see them again in spring, or to see them again in the summer, it would be great to do that. So I think that's something that I'm going to put in my diary to think about. It may not be, I may even do that with Mark when we go on holiday, try and find the spaces you took us to. But I think that's the thing. It doesn't matter what the weather's like. If you're afraid of booking these things with Mary because you think the weather has to be perfect, maybe that's the lesson that your life is trying, you know, this coaching is going to teach you, is that there is no such thing as perfect. There just is what is. How can you be grateful for it? How can you value it? How can you maximize it? How can you enjoy it? And certainly with Mary, she will have a way of helping you maximize that space, whatever the weather. And in our setup process, she also puts lots of things in to give you choices and options and things to think about. I don't think there's any other questions or things for me to answer. I can't see anything on there. So it's coming up for about an hour now anyway. It's nearly 12 o'clock. Lots of love to all of you. Thank you so much for listening to me. I really appreciate it. Mary, keep up the good work. Get your stuff out there. The world needs more Marys. I think I've got to go make peace. I absolutely agree. It's been my mantra for years. So Rita's going, and thank you for sharing your story. Someone's put, I want to make peace with the camera lens. I've loathed cameras for years. Rita, can I talk to you at some point then? Because I'm looking with 2 photographers who are my clients right now, looking to run a workshop where people can have their photographs taken, and I would work with them to manage their critic about what do they see. Because there was a bit going on with me today about I've got no makeup on, I've got my PJs on. But if I'd gone and got all the makeup on and changed it, my whole day would have. So I had to get over what other people might or might not think about me. I'm in Mary's group. It's Sunday morning. I'm having a chat with you guys, and that's what I made a decision. That was the image that I wanted to go out. So Rita, inbox me if you want to talk about that, because that's a separate workshop I'm looking to do to support two of my photographer clients to get their businesses out there. So that might be something we could talk about. That'd be great. I don't think there's any more questions. Tag me if there is. I think someone's talking about walking in the woodlands. It all looks good. So I think what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to read through your comments when I've hung the phone up, line up, whatever you call it, and I'm going to love you and leave you. But a massive thank you, everybody. I think Mary's now popping links and stuff on the post. That's great. Fab. Love you loads. Have a fantastic week. Go dare to blossom. Speak to you soon. She says, trying to find the finish button. There it is.